with it. Emily is a both a watercolor and an acrylic painter, and she creates just fabulous abstract art. She makes it look easy, but I'm sure it's not that easy because when I try to do it, it just looks like a bunch of mud. So anyway, she shows her work in Los Gatos and in the East Bay Open Studios and is an instructor at Frank Bed also. And her next class, I do believe, will be July 24th. And is that going to be on Zoom or in person, Emily? Do you know?
I believe it's in person.
Wow, that'll be excited. Okay.
Thanks everybody for coming today. This is my studio wall. You can see, it gets kind of messy around here. And what I am going to do is I have two different boards. This is a 12 by 12 ampersand brand clay board, which is so smooth. It's like one of my favorite things to use. And then I have a smaller board because sometimes it's fun to go back and forth, let the paint dry on this one, go back and play with this one, and so on. So I'm going to lift this thing out and show you the supplies. Do this. So this is my, actually, believe it or not, cleaned up table. This is a whole bunch of oil pastels, and they're like these crayon shaped things that are kind of gooey at the end. And I really love them, but they take forever to dry. This is the label, the packaging for the clay board. In case anybody wants to take a look at that. I've got my different paints. I really like Golden brand, but I'm also madly in love with these little packages. They're Sennelier. And the pigments are just fabulous. And they come in these kind of small packages. So it makes them really affordable. I've already mixed up some primary colors, got my brushes, got my water. And let me put this back in the stand and get started. There we go. All right, I'm going to start with can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, fine, thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm going to start on this 12 by 12, which is like, it's my favorite size and shape. I love the square. I'm going to start with, hang on. I've got my little pencil here. It's a Lyra brand, and you can get water soluble and non-water soluble. And this is what's left of my water soluble. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm doing, but I might be quiet most of the time. So go ahead and ask questions if you have any, and Roz, we can check in maybe in 10 minutes or so. Will that work?
Sure, that'll be fine.
Okay, great. So again, the water soluble Lyra brand graphite crayon. Make sure you guys can see.
Do you have a plan in mind before you start? Do you sort of think it out, or do you just sort of improvise?
I just go. See, I'm already making a nice big mess. I really love black marks on white backgrounds. Maybe it's because, I'm a graphic designer. I love the starkness of it. So I'm going to go in with some acrylic. And I'm gonna just kind of tune out for a few minutes here. Using water bottle. It's a little cad red light. It's a wet towel, wet rag. I like to use sticks. So I'm pausing for a minute because I'm not sure what this needs next.
How does the colored crayon interact with the acrylic paint, or does it?
It's very oily, so it's almost like a resist.
Okay.
So this in my mind needs to kind of marinate for a minute. I need to think about what I want to do next. Generally, when I'm doing something like this, I sort of fly by the seat of my pants and use my guts. I do better paintings when I don't think. I just come from a place that's inside and then express. And this one is not talking to me yet about what it wants next. So I'm going to let that sit, and then I'm going to move over to this guy. And see what this guy wants. And I'm going to go ahead and use this Sennelier flush ochre. Flush ochre. If you're white, I guess it's flush ochre. I'm going to use my palette knife. It's really fun using a palette knife because it's like frosting a cake. I have a whole drawer full of these oil pastels. So I'm going to grab this pink one. And this particular brand, it's more like a crayon. It's not as oily. You hear me suddenly swear it's because I jammed my knee into the drawer. This one's calling for more pink, so I'm gonna use the Sennelier acrylic.
Do you ever use watercolor with acrylics too, or not?
Yes, in abstracts I do.
Mhm.
I have to just pause and say something's happening inside me right now that often happens when I paint, which is a lot of emotion bubbles up. So I'm feeling a little choked up at the moment, which is perfectly fine. This one over here is calling me back. So I'm going to go back in here. I think I'm going to take out, I'm going to use a stick and some India ink.
Does it evoke past memories that the emotion, Emily, or is it just you just get so invested in it, it just brings up passion?
There's something about the process of creating that just sort of unleashes things sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I've had some painful losses in my family in the last 6 months. And it's been kind of a brutal year, so for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
So sometimes, I'll start painting and it's like, oh, I'm so happy to be in my studio and I'm painting. And then I start sobbing. And then I take a break and sit in my chair and cry my eyes out for a while. And then it's great. It's cathartic.
Yeah, we actually, for our paw prints, we had a wonderful cat design that Karen Mulpus created, and the cat, big sort of cat was on the front, and the caption was, "In difficult times, art is cathartic."
Oh dear.
And but it was so cute. It was really well done.
Oh,
And
yeah, she should be ashamed of herself for that fun.
I know. Well, it was.
I put some India ink in here and I have a stick.
But it is kind of cathartic. I mean, some paintings I become way more attached to than others. And I'm never quite sure why, what it evokes. But it's an emotional response.
It's good to be that connected to yourself. It's very good. You can see both of these, right?
Yes, thank you.
I don't like that. Wipe that off. So I'm going to use this oil pastel. It's a bigger, thicker, gooier, lovely thing. And they're really fun to use. They can take weeks or months to dry.
Oh my goodness.
I've learned it's important to pay attention to your instincts. So that's what I'm going to do right now. If I can find the yellow ochre, that is. Yep.
What was that first yellow? Was that a cad yellow?
Yes, that was. It was either primary or a cad yellow medium. So I'm just applying paint right onto the palette knife.
Mm. Does abstract art follow some or any of the principles of, like landscape painting where you're looking for the golden mean and, you're trying to get a composition that has, sort of different vantage points, or does kind of looks like abstract painting breaks all the rules, but not all of them, some of them, maybe.
I have no idea. I just do it. Another little oil pastel, tiny little bit. We're just going to stand back and look at these for a minute.
Yeah, Casey has a good point that abstract doesn't seem to be confined by the rules or to the rules, but it's ruled by expression, by the feeling.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay. Oh, let's see. Okay, handy tool, nutcracker. Opening lids.
It looks like your video might have just switched off, Emily.
Hold on.
There we go. It's back on. Good.
Okay. Stick the charger on.
Emily, did you start out originally doing abstract, or did you start out with landscapes or portraits, or?
That's a great question. I'm glad you asked because I wanted to talk about that. Let me address that in a couple minutes, okay?
Okay.
All right, that needs to marinate for a minute, this one here. So I have been doing watercolors for more than 40 years, off and on. And I've taken lots of different watercolor workshops over the years. And then in 2008, I needed a vacation. And I'd never been to Esalen and Big Sur, so I got out, I found a catalog of classes, and one said art, so I signed up for that, and my life was really never the same again. I stumbled into a workshop given by Lee Hyams. She died a few years ago. She was in her 80s, and she was a gifted teacher, and what she did was she taught you how to freely express kind of what was inside you. And she gave us all kinds of different materials, from ink to a bucket of mud and a giant brush. And, she had all kinds of things. And the idea was to loosen you up and stop thinking. And after that first week, it was a week-long class, she made me take myself seriously as an artist. So I came home from that workshop. I rented a tiny little studio space. She wanted me to do more abstracts, which I'd never done before, ever. And she handed me some acrylic paints and said, here's a giant piece of paper, just do it. And I swore a lot. There was a lot of swearing. But she kind of broke me open like a watermelon. And so the answer is yes, I've been doing it since then, but not before.
Wow. Yeah,
It
I
really
always thought it
saved
would
my
be
life.
easier to do abstract art, and it would be harder to do, you know, more realistic kinds of things. And then when I started to take watercolor lessons, I think it takes tremendous courage to do abstract painting.
Well,
You know,
you're sort of naked on the board there,
yes,
you know?
exactly, exactly.
So it can be intimidating because everybody kind of sees your insides. I find doing shows to be emotionally difficult at times because I feel so exposed.
Yes, I imagine. Yeah, I tried it. I tried a small painting once, and my grandkids said, "What is it?" And I thought, no, I'm not ready for this.
I love how crunchy and chunky the stick is. That this will take 3 months to dry.
Huh.
I'm gonna need to look at this one. That might be almost done. Need to study it for a minute. I'm kind of using a towel as a this rough surface to make texture in the wet paint.
Mm-hmm. It's almost 5 o'clock, so if you wanted to take a 10-minute break, now might, if this is a time to do it, let me know. If
Yeah.
not, we can go forward.
Yes, a break would be great.
Okay, why don't we meet at about, it's about 4:55. Why don't we meet at about, I don't know, 4:05, something like that?
Sounds great.
All right, everybody. So we'll resume at about 4:05. Continue asking questions through chat if you need to or want to.
It's just too busy. Are we back yet?
We are back
Okay, I'm
right
mixing
about
up.
now.
Huh?
Right about now.
All right, I'm mixing some paint. So just as I was looking at these on the break, this is looking really busy. One thing I don't like is that it's like in thirds, this section, this section, this section. It's a little too orderly for me.
Uh-huh.
So I'm not sure what'll happen.
Casey's asking, have you ever let judgment pause you from creating it in the way you want to?
Have I let judgment get in the way?
Pause you, yeah, from creating in your own way. I think
No. And the reason for that is that my teacher, Lee, who I took a lot of workshops from, kind of gave me that confidence.
So did she kind of pick you out from among the group and say, you know, you've got a lot of potential?
No, she would never do that because she treated everyone really equally. But her assistant pulled me aside and said, look, Lee would never say this to you, but you got to keep painting. So I may have just totally wrecked this. I don't know. I have to get some fresh water. Be right back.
Okay. Emily, do you have favorite colors that you try to use whenever you can, or do you try to mix it up?
I'm really drawn to the primary colors. Somebody once told me they were kind of getting tired of them and I should change my palette. That's where the confidence came in. And I said, no. I think that's one of the blessings of being an old lady. you know. Don't really care what people say or think.
Yeah, that's a very good skill to have. I wish I had it.
Yeah,
So
I
Emily,
wish that, sorry.
go ahead. Do your squiggles change dramatically from painting to painting, or remain similar as a kind of style? And if so, did they remind you of anything in particular?
I'd have to look at my paintings to answer that question. I don't know. There is a similarity for sure.
As sort of a follow-up to that, have you ever done a kind of a message painting where you're deliberately trying to tell a story and with maybe, hidden words? Or I remember reading an article that in France they would publish magazines that had all kinds of hidden messages in them for the underground.
Not deliberately, although I've had a long career as a graphic designer. And when I worked for a corporation back in the 90s, and I designed a brochure that had a lot of lines that I kind of drew digitally, and I sneaked my initials in there.
Yeah, I guess computer programmers do that. There was one that was not pleased that he wasn't recognized for his work, so he
Oh,
stuck in some code that was not according to plan, but he specifically put it in, and he called it Easter eggs. And
yeah.
Elon
right.
Musk has taken over the mantle of doing that, and he puts code in his Teslas that have, he calls them Easter eggs, and you can actually play them on the car. You can drive your car on Mars, or you can, one sings a Christmas song, and love is that you can actually play a whoopee cushion under any seat in the car.
That's pretty funny.
It's what gets them to school. Maria's telling us that when she was an editor She had to watch for middle fingers in the illustration. Initials she used a real name.
So this is going to be kind of a kitchen sink painting. I'm throwing everything at it to try to make it work. I think this one might be done.
Yeah, it's neat. It's very different than the other one, but it's
I know.
got lots of moods in it. I think it's great that you can also erase some of it and, you know, rework the parts you don't like.
Yeah, a wet rag can do wonders.
Well, it's the clay board, right? That allows that.
Yeah, and it's so smooth. Okay, where's that? I kind of like that, all the different colors poking through.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's working better now.
Wow, I can see an angry face in it.
Probably mine.
No, it's in there. The eye, that circle with a white over it, looks like an eye. And then
Yeah,
the nose is a little of the
abstract
white.
paintings are Rorschach tests for sure.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. So I want to ask the folks that are watching to chat back and tell me which painting grabs you the most and why. Send me a chat note to tell me.
Yeah, and if anybody has any questions, now's a good time.
Do you put a finish on the paint at all once it's dried? Do you put a fixative or anything on it?
Not on acrylics, they're basically liquid plastic. Some people think you should, but I don't. But this has to be completely dry, the oil pastel. And I do spray a quick dry on it that does speed up that process. It helps.
So Casey is telling me that the left-hand painting, the last red used, really hit her emotionally somehow. I had the same reaction with that one. It really looked like a face, and it did look like a either angry or pensive or outraged is the word that wants to come out for me.
Oh, that's interesting.
Anybody else see a face in that painting? Maybe I'm the only one that's strange. Marie is saying yes, she can see maybe a French bulldog in there too. Marie, where do you see that? Direct me to the right place. Oh, also on the face. Interesting. Yeah, I can see that now. Marie tells me, Marie says that Casey must be a dog person. Casey said she sees skulls too. Sika says she sees a brown profile face with blue hair hanging over the forehead, a la Bob Dylan. Oh, that's a good observation. How about the painting on the right? What does that evoke for people? I must have a vivid imagination. It looks to me like people parachuting into a wildfire area. I've been reading too much of the news, I guess. Casey said she babysits too much. I see Peep's pig, Peppa, Peppa the pig. Marie said she loves the pink picture, but it feels like the inside of a heart for her.
This one looks like ice cream to me.
Patricia said she thinks the pink one looks like berry sorbet with whipped cream. Makes me hungry.
I'm just going to stand in the back of my studio and look at these for a minute. One of the things I do if I'm trying to look at a painting in a different way is I take bits of mat. You can make a square. And then
Oh, that's a good idea.
Put it around it, standing back, and then you don't get distracted by all the stuff that's around it. Okay. I think these are done, Missy.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna ask you how you know when you're finished. And, you know, I was looking at the one on the left and, you know, Margaret will say, put down your, you know, your paintbrush and put your hands behind your back.
That's right.
You know, if you know you're done, don't mess it up, you know. But
Well,
yeah,
a painting is never really done. You just have to know when to stop.
yeah.
So I'm stopping.
Well, that's great. That's wonderful. So how long will it take to dry, you said?
Well, the oil bits, the oil pastels, it might take more than a month, but I spray stuff on it that speeds it up.
Ah,
I'll show you. It's a quick dry,
I see.
and it's for oil paintings, but it does help make it dry faster.
Well, Emily says she's finished with these, so let me give everybody one more minute to finish up the bidding.
Oh, are people bidding?